Welcome to the Health Part of the Week, episode 34. Hi, my name is Alejandro Flori, certified fitness and nutrition coach with Altus Fitness. Today's episode is called Wake Up. Yes. All right, so today, like last episode, as you saw, I went and described like all about nutrition. I just wanted to make sure that you didn't have, like you have a good understanding of, like the real facts about fat, all right, or fats. But today I actually want to go a little deeper. So, wake up. So, we are living right now in a time of confusion, quite frankly, and that's what I see. And this calls for people to open their senses, and this calls for people to use their common sense more than anything else. All right, so I like to start the video by reading this. This is not necessarily a quote. This is just an extract that I got from James Clear's book, and it goes something like that: people would rather be wrong with the crowd than right by themselves. Okay, so right now, we're in 2020. We're in December 2020. And things have not got any easier. Christmas is around the corner. People are concerned about how they're going to spend their Christmas. However, fear, paranoia, and that collective mindset is driving people to take certain actions that they would like to think that they are based on facts or science, just because they read, like reputable magazines, or they watch the news and they watch like whatever, CNN, CNBC, CBC. If you're in Canada, it's going to be, so CBS, CBC, just the news outlet, right? And the news outlet, of course, they're reputable companies that they are unbiased and they only share the truth and they get it from the source, right? So there's a statement that is very, very old. I think it's something like 100 years old, that says, and it came from the news media, that said, good news don't sell. Okay? So that's basically, more or less what the statement means. Now, who or what could be feeding the news feed, right? So you are seeing a lot of so-called, professionals, like healthcare professionals, pharmaceuticals. You're seeing, you're seeing supposed independent, research labs, coming up with certain information as if it's immutable and it's 100% true. Okay? So if you have been watching my videos for long enough, if you've been watching especially on Facebook, I did make a difference in what, for you to believe that something is science, you have to understand how they came up with those conclusions that you are taking as an absolute truth, okay? So when we are talking strictly about observational studies and correlations that, are supposed to be the data, the unique data that drives or influences your decisions, you do want to make sure you understand where that data came from. Okay, it's not enough for you to say, well, I know the source and the source is reputable. And listen, we are all guilty of that. Okay, so human nature is, when you have a certain idea in mind that you want to prove to yourself and others, you are going to look for the sources that will give you the information that will reinforce your position. Just because, for whatever reason, call it ego, call it, this statement right here, you don't want to consciously or unconsciously, you don't want to deviate from the crowd. You don't want to, you don't want to like grow apart. You just want to, it's very hard for people to voice their opinions or say, oh, listen, that is, the data is flawed, or that information may not be accurate, or that person is leveraging on his or her reputation or her credentials or his credentials to sell you on something that is not necessarily true. Okay? So yes, we are all victims of that to different degrees. Now, one thing that you need to understand, and that you need to just take a break, stop and think, is how history repeats itself. Okay? So, and what the motivation or the drivers for the crowds, once again, whole nations, whole continents sometimes, to act a certain way was, right? So is it fear? Is it misinformation? Is it pseudoscience? Is it halfway truth? Okay, so how does that play? Now looking back at some of the most relevant events in history, we see them with shame just because now we understand that we were wrong. There are certain countries that have certain, people in certain countries that have like a very inflated, ego, and they fail over and over and over to admit that certain conflicts, for example, were completely unnecessary. Okay, and then they keep repeating the same thing. They try to ignore the outcome of those historical events, and they keep repeating the same mistakes, and they get more and more condemned, even though they have a media outlet that will reassure those citizens, those people, those crowds, that the motivation for what they have been doing, that is absolutely flagrantly wrong and unacceptable, is for a higher cause. Okay? So I don't want to refer to necessarily, and I think you can tell by now that yes, there is a definite idea behind what I'm saying today. But it is very important for you to question, like I am. If you're watching this video and you're questioning what you're listening to right now, I am forcing you, or I am opening, this like a gap for discussion. And that is good enough. The one thing that you cannot afford, this is the 21st century where you have all the information on hand. And you can, if you have a minimum of logical approach to those informations, or at least the actions that are going to be incentivized by those motivations, by that information, by that data. All right, the actions that are going to be either beneficial or detrimental to your health, and that's why this is the health rant of the week, and I am talking about these things. All right, it's just going to potentially be detrimental to your health, detrimental to your relationships, detrimental to your communities, to your society. So you want to be very careful. And before you pick a side, you do want to listen and dig deeper on the pros and cons in every situation. That's just what you want to do. If you have come to a point where you definitely, there's no such thing as objectively, but as objectively as you can, you have come to the realization that your posture is the right one. And just like Robert Kiyosaki used to say, everything in life has a price to pay, and you need to understand if you're willing to pay for it, something like that, right? So yes, you pick a position, you pick sides, and you understand what the consequences of that is. Now, when you stand with the crowd, it's much easier because you can always say, like, Germany in 1939. I was doing what I was told because I was convinced that was the best for me, my community, my society, my country, all right? Or Vietnam, or Second World War in Japan as well, all right? That brought about like horrendous consequences for those countries in those periods. Now it's crowd or mass psychology, right? Yeah, that was like, I did that to protect my country's way of life. I did that to protect the freedom. I did that to protect from invasion. I did that to prevent like a race or religion or ethnicity from taking over my country or the world. Looking backwards, it was complete BS. But we were convinced that we were moving in the right direction. That our drive, our motivation was the right one. Okay, so I do understand that this type of reflection, this type of thinking and reasoning is not very appealing to most people. Yes, it is absolutely easier to just, we're in the middle of a lockdown, just, relax, watch your TV shows or your series, just get your takeout, go for your pizza and, your wings and lots of popcorn and your, your alcohol and things like that, and basically trust the information that you are being fed through the news media and your governments, just because they know better. They got your back. They always did, right? Yeah. So they did back in Germany in 1939, or Japan, for that matter, in the same period, 1969 as well, like whatever, just Vietnam. So whatever, I'm not sure the dates are correct, but government's got your back, right? They want your country to thrive, and for you to thrive, you have to take an aggressive, not a reactive, but a proactive approach. And you have to, just make your decision, get on board. You have to just, nullify the dangers. I don't know. Just, just go to the History Channel as opposed to, just going to HBO for, for a change. Just look at what has happened, and these things have happened over and over and over again. And whether you know it or not, behind stage, the actors, the characters are still the same. They're still the same. You may not see them, you may not hear about them, but they're still the same. The motivation deep inside, it's still the same. It's still money. Call it what you will. It's still money. And don't be a victim of your excessive trust or your misinformation or your misled information. Okay, so this applies to everything, just nutrition. Let's talk nutrition. If you eat all your fruits and vegetables, you eat less, move more, drink your 8 glasses of water, sleep for 8 hours, do your cardio, you're going to be fine. Yeah? Right? How's that working out so far? Right? If you line up all those habits, and you have had a positive outcome, 100%, just disregard this video. And thank you for your time. If despite you doing, when it comes to nutrition, for example, everything you're told, lots of healthy whole grains, like eat 3 meals and snack between meals, drink your 8 glasses of water, eat less, move more. So it's very simple, very, if you are in the opposite corner altogether and you start doing something and you take some action, you're going to be seeing short-term results, granted. If you try to have that approach to your long-term health and you just want to go not deep, you want to go shallow and wide, it's not going to work. We have 50 years by now, 40 years since 1980, but it's almost like 65 years in total, like in the making, that show differently, right? So you guys going to check the stats on contagion on certain illnesses, go to the same organizations that keep track of those and look at obesity rates in the exact same place, right? Just not to take anything from them. Go and check it out and let me know. Look at the graph. Let me know for how long, or as long as you've been following that advice, what has happened to heart disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, cancer. What has happened? Is it getting better or is it getting worse? And it's been 40 years. It's a quite correlation causation. Oh, Alejandro, you always say correlation causation. Well, I don't know. Just look at that, open your eyes, and then we'll go more in depth about the facts. But that is a good eye opener. It's not the ultimate, information. That's not the only information, but it's an eye opener. That's all I want for you at this point. All right. Let's change the demeanor. All right. So I hope this video was an awakening. And if not, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, what I feel like I should be doing. Thank you very much. Thank you kindly for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And this time I said it backwards. My name is Alejandro Fleury, Certified Fitness and Nutrition Coach with Altus Fitness. See you